Chapter 35. He wants it all. In the early morning, a scream quickly spread through the torrential rain. But the girl who had shrieked was quickly muffled by those around her and curtains drawn. "Quiet down. Do you want us all dead?" A grown-up in the opposite villa cursed and quickly fell silent. Some nearby, unaware of the situation, peeked through the curtains to see from Maria's villa onwards, one corpse after another bobbing up and down in the rainwater. With so many bodies, the road was blocked, not swept away by the rushing waters. Mr. Song, known for his boldness, rushed to the balcony upon hearing the scream, looking down. Even though he had ventured into the ruins in the dark and killed several people, he couldn't help but frown. 2 days ago, there were 3 bodies in the rain, actually more than 10 killed. Now, at least 15 bodies floated in the rain. How many had been killed last night? Which? Mr. Song took a deep breath. If not for wanting to repay the person who saved him, he would have moved long ago, knowing no one would want such a dangerous neighbor. Henry quickly grasped the situation at Maria's villa, his brothers wiping sweat from their brows in relief. They had criticized Boss Henry for being too cowardly, kneeling to Maria and forbidding them from seeking revenge. Luckily, they had held back, or their bodies would have been washed away by the rain. "Bro, look at them." One brother spotted a construction crew walking through the storm from the 2nd floor. They came with over 30, now only 11 remain. Seems the rumors are true. Where are they heading? Henry looked out the window. Doesn't matter, we just keep a low profile. He glanced towards the parking lot, a suspicion forming. But what did that have to do with them? Nothing. The foreman led the remaining 10 to the parking lot. Unlike usual, the security office was unattended, not as planned initially. With a signal, the foreman led a few quietly into the office. Just a few steps in, he heard voices. "Why's the captain taking so long? Starving here." Inside, a young security guard complained. "Patience. Will the captain let you starve?" An older guard replied. "So many brothers waiting for food. Just can't understand why the captain hides the food in that cave. Risking the heavy rain every few days, so troublesome. Stupid or what? Remember how we fought with Strong for food?" The older guard said, "If Strong raids us, we can just flee and take his place. Exciting, right?" The young guard's eyes lit up. "Ah, I get it." After this, the 2 guards chatted aimlessly, unaware of last night's attack on Maria's villa. Outside, the foreman signaled his men and quietly retreated. The security team was clever, hiding food in a cave. Who could have guessed? According to these guards, if attacked, they could escape without worry, food a non-issue. Clearly, their survival skills were sound. Too bad. There's always a weak link. They had come for the security team's food, unexpectedly gaining crucial info. Originally, he just wanted some food. Now, he wanted it all. The foreman's remaining fat quivered, whispering to his men, "Boys, no fighting needed. I know where the security team's food is. Let's empty it now." Though unsure what happened, hearing they could get food, they were in. The construction crew's 11 survivors quickly left the parking lot, fearing discovery. In fact, they were spotted entering by the security team. Min stepped out from a hidden room, bowing thrice to the retreating crew. "Captain, is this too harsh?" the young guard who complained earlier asked. Min said, "In this disaster, there's no right or wrong, just survival. Feel sorry for them? You can catch up and tell them there are man-eating spiders in the cave. See if they throw you in or just stab you." The young guard fell silent. Having eaten too well, he had become naive. Min's words snapped him back. "All right, everyone but the watch and duty, go back to sleep." Min waved off. "In case these guys survive, they may return to attack us." From cabinets, crates, walls, and trash cans, armed guards emerged, greeting each other before heading back. Prepared for potential fights, all needed to be well rested. Maria woke up. The scream from the opposite villa had roused her. She opened her eyes, a crossbow in hand, checking no attack occurred before relaxing. Maria dressed, peeking through a slit in the curtains at the opposite villa. Curtains were drawn, nothing visible. Why scream so early? Had their villa been attacked? A glance out. Maria saw the flooded road in front of the villa. Corpses one after another, bobbing with the rushing waters, visually striking. She hadn't expected so many bodies pushed last night to block the road. This heavy rain wasn't enough. Maria, what's happening? Lily, blurry-eyed, came to the living room. She pulled back a curtain corner, then promptly vomited. Maria blinked. She hadn't even had a chance to warn her. Chapter 36. You must be hungry. The numerous corpses left to soak in the rain could not be allowed to remain. Over time, they would decompose, bloat, putrefy, and even explode, leaving the entire area reeking to an unimaginable extent. The thought of pushing the bodies to the landslide area crossed Maria's mind but was quickly dismissed. The end-of-the-world rain was perilous, and so was daylight. Maria had barely managed to control her fear during last night's battle, preventing her hands from trembling. She was reluctant to venture out unless absolutely necessary. However, the problem was soon resolved. Around 10 a.m., Min, having finished his rest, arrived with several security guards. Without a word, they silently transported the bodies to the landslide area, allowing the rushing rain to sweep them away. Captain, look what I found. It's all meat. Just as they were about to leave, a security guard discovered a foam box stuck in a bush. Upon lifting the cloth covering it, he found fresh meat inside. Although some appeared dirty, discarding the inedible parts would leave the rest perfectly fine. The other guards hurried over, smiling widely. What kind of meat? Let me see. Min approached with suspicion. In the past 20 days, survivors in the tourist area had barely tasted meat, except for those who occasionally caught wild rabbits. If there was good, fresh meat, why would anyone abandon it in a foam box? They would fight to keep it instead. Min's expression changed as he thought of this. He broke a branch from a nearby bush and used it to stir the meat paste in the foam box. Soon, the guards surrounding the box witnessed an unbelievable sight. One after another, they began to vomit. After emptying their stomachs, they pushed the foam box to the edge of the landslide, letting the rain wash it away. They now understood why the meat was mashed and why some parts appeared to be cooked. Upon connecting the dots with the intelligence they had received, they realized this must have been someone who attacked Maria's villa last night. This person had unfortunate luck, being blown to pieces. Maria noticed the security team leaving after cleaning up the bodies. She drew the curtains and said nothing, thinking that it was for the best. Due to the lack of visibility at night, the villa still had traces of blood and filth, which she and Lily continued to clean during the day. They had no choice but to remain in the villa, as there was no other option for them. Lily had grown popular from last night. Perhaps it was because she had already vomited after seeing the bodies soaked outside in the morning. Interestingly, during the cleaning of the staircase, Maria unintentionally mastered the magic spell Water Ball. The staircase was the dirtiest area, covered in a layer of blood. Determined to clean it, Maria decided to try the small water ball spell. Recalling the method of compressing magic to create a blue fireball, she made a slight modification to the small water ball spell. The result was a larger water ball, though Maria couldn't be sure if it still counted as a water ball spell. She didn't know what the actual spell was supposed to look like. Nevertheless, it was effective. Several large water balls later, the staircase was significantly cleaner, making the subsequent cleaning much more manageable. The two of them worked until the afternoon and finally completed the cleaning. As for the area that had been blasted apart, Maria had no solution. However, looking at the now clean villa, both Maria and Lily felt a great sense of accomplishment. Lily deserved special praise for her efforts in cleaning. Due to her hard work, the intense smell of blood that had permeated the first floor had become much fainter. They wouldn't need to move residences. With the villa now clean, Maria's mood improved. Lily, shall we have beef hot pot for dinner again? Maria glanced at the mushroom room and said. The mushrooms had been growing constantly, and they couldn't keep up with the supply. As a result, she had stored many fresh mushrooms in her magical space, but they continued to grow as quickly as ever. This was likely due to the ongoing heavy rains and humid weather. However, when the extreme cold and heat disasters arrived, enjoying such plentiful harvests of mushrooms would become much more challenging. "Maria, can we not eat meat?" Lily's face turned pale. Hearing about meat reminded her of the gruesome state of the bodies at the staircase last night, nearly inducing another bout of vomiting. Maria blinked. "All right, let's have a mushroom hot pot instead. Look, there are many pretty mushrooms growing." Lily went into the mushroom room and widened her eyes. "Maria, those colorful mushrooms are poisonous. They can cause hallucinations if eaten." Her face turned pale as she recalled the beef hot pots they had eaten before. She remembered that Maria would always add some mushrooms to the broth. Aside from the exceptionally delicious taste and occasional dizziness, nothing else happened. Maria looked at the colorful mushrooms, momentarily stunned. The pinewood was purchased from a wholesale market, and the owner had assured her, saying they had grown in mushrooms their entire life and knew which ones were edible. There should be no poisonous mushrooms on the pinewood. Could Lily be mistaken? After all, there were many types of mushrooms and quite a few colorful ones were edible. For safety reasons, Maria decided to avoid trying the colorful mushrooms for now. "Don't worry. These colorful mushrooms are for me to brew potions," Maria explained. Brewing potions was a notion she came up with on the spot. As a witch who could use magic, it would be normal for her to brew potions, right? Although she didn't know how to brew potions, she could always boil these colorful mushrooms separately and give them to those starving people who wanted to break into the villa. That way, she would find out if they were edible. "I'm so clever," she thought. At that point, she wouldn't need to fight and worry about the villa being filled with blood and filth. Seeing Maria suddenly smile, Lily felt suspicious. Nevertheless, she was relieved as long as Maria didn't plan to cook the colorful mushrooms for a hot pot. "Found it!" a worker shouted from the entrance of a cave. Two other workers nearby rushed over, looking at the ashes, the unique hat, and tools of the security team left at the cave's entrance, confirming that this was the place. "TSK. This cave is well hidden," the workers who arrived afterward commented, looking at the cave. It was difficult to notice the cave from both a distance and close up, and one could only discover it if they stood right in front of it. No wonder the security team didn't bother to make any extra camouflage. "Let's go inform the foreman." The worker who discovered the cave prepared to leave and call for help. "Wait, we haven't seen the food the security team has hidden." The older worker grabbed his arm, his stomach faring a few times. "I suggest marking the outer stone to show that we've discovered the cave here. Let's enter and take a look first. If we find the security team's food, we can move some to the cave's entrance." "You all must be hungry," he continued. Chapter 37. They must be sneaking a feast. "Boss, there's a mark here. They've found it." Following a worker's lead, the foreman approached the cave's vicinity and spotted the markings left on the stones. "Damn it. These bastards found it but didn't come to alert us first. They must be sneaking a feast." A worker, nearly starved to madness, couldn't help but smile. He was already imagining the delicious canned beef. If not that, even a bowl of instant noodles would do. It must smell incredibly appetizing. The foreman, his face not yet fully depleted of fat, trembled as he said, "Everyone's starving. As long as we can find the security team's hidden provisions, let's go over." The guiding worker asked, "Boss, what about the others?" The foreman replied, "I divided us into teams of 3, and there are 2 sets of marks here, which means they've all arrived. We're the last ones." Following the markings, they quickly found the exceedingly cleverly hidden cave. Outside the cave entrance lay several backpacks and other miscellaneous items, left behind by their people. "It's here." The workers were overjoyed. Braving the torrential downpour, risking potential flash floods, landslides, and collapses, they had searched the mountains for hours, nearly passing out from exhaustion. "Let's go in and take a look." The ravenous foreman couldn't wait any longer and led the group inside. But as they walked, he felt something was off. Was it too quiet in this cave? No, not completely quiet. Close to the cave entrance, the sound of the torrential rain could be heard. Inside the cave, the faint sound of water trickling deep within could be discerned. "Boss, is this cave a bit deep? There's no sound from them inside." A worker hesitated for a moment before asking. If it weren't for the bags at the entrance, he might have stopped in his tracks, hesitating to venture further. Eating full makes you sleepy. A worker, lost in fantasies of various foods, chuckled and said, "I guess they've all eaten their fill and are sleeping inside. Besides, with no signal on our phones, we can't contact them." The hesitant worker asked, "Should I shout?" The foreman slapped him. "Are you stupid? If you attract the security team with a shout, how will we get away with the provisions?" The hesitant worker awkwardly said, "Right. It's just that." Suddenly, their voices ceased. The foreman and the others stopped, shining their flashlights to the side. Where had everyone gone? He shone his flashlight forward and saw his companion next to him had his mouth covered by something, being snatched into the air. "What is that thing?" The foreman saw the immense spider coiled deep within the cave. He saw his comrade, in the blink of an eye, being wrapped in spider silk into a cocoon. Several other cocoons surrounded it, with two squirming, while the rest were still. "Run!" He barely managed to shout before turning to flee. Suddenly, a thud. The foreman felt something hit the back of his head, causing him to stop and cover it instinctively, blood seeping through. It was only then that he clearly heard the sound of a wrench hitting the ground. He had been hit by his own comrade. He watched as the two workers overtook him one after the other. "You!" The foreman was both furious and anxious. He wanted to curse, to call for help, to flee for his life. But in the next second, he felt something sticky grasp him, the spider silk wrapping around his mouth. "Ah, beast!" His eyes widened, being dragged deeper into the cave. The remaining two workers ran past him, panicked, heading for the exit. They were leaving him behind to be eaten by the spider in order to save themselves. "Beasts, you won't die a natural death." The foreman felt his breathing grow, his mind hazy, recalling the words he had heard early morning at the parking lot security post. They were intentional. "We survived." The two workers escaped from the cave, looking at each other with lingering fear. Their plan to steal the security team's provisions had nearly turned them into spider food. Thinking of the many backpacks at the entrance, the comrades who had gone in before them were likely all dead. Regarding the sacrifice of the foreman for their escape, the two shared a tacit understanding, neither mentioning it. After all, the foreman had been exploiting them, still sporting some fat on his face. They had long grown dissatisfied. Moreover, so many of their brothers had died last night because of him, and again today because of him. Now they were avenging their brothers. "How could there be such a big spider here?" the taller worker asked shakily. "I don't know." The other's legs trembled. Whether it was from the torrential rain or the terrifying man-eating spider in the cave, he didn't know. What should they do next? Not only had they not found food, but their last few comrades were also gone. They didn't know how to survive. Should they gather some bark and grass roots to endure through the day? But what about tomorrow? Suddenly, the tall worker patted his companion, pointing to the nearby bushes. "Brother, is that a wild boar over there?" The other followed his gaze. Through the rain, they saw an animal resembling a wild boar rooting in the soil, likely foraging for food. The two immediately grew shouting. Was this what the old saying meant by misfortune, maybe a blessing in disguise? If they could catch this wild boar, they wouldn't have to worry about food for dozens of days. The two searched around and retrieved the steel pipes and machetes left at the cave entrance, cautiously circling the creature. 10 meters, 8 meters, 6 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters. The wild boar seemed oblivious to the impending danger. Within striking range, the two struck simultaneously from left and right. Suddenly, the wild boar raised its head, standing up, over a meter tall, its scarlet eyes eerily fixed on the two. This was no wild boar. It was a rat, bigger than a wild boar. The rat's mouth was stained with blood, holding in its hands a human head gnawed to a bloody mess. Bushes rustled beside it, revealing two more giant rats, their crimson eyes fixed on them. The expressions of the two men were filled with terror, their bodies frozen in place. The induction cooker was ready. A small water ball technique added water, the base ingredients were put in, and the power was turned on. Maria and Lily sat at the table, eagerly watching the water in the pot gradually heat up. Beside the induction cooker, the mushrooms that needed to be sliced were ready, as were those that didn't need to be, all washed and safe. Just eating mushrooms might not be filling, so Maria prepared 2 flatbreads, one for her and one for Lily. When the water in the pot started to boil, all the prepared mushrooms were added. Setting a timer on the phone, all that was left was to wait quietly. 15 minutes later, the aroma of the mushrooms wafted out. In the blink of an eye, the fragrance filled the living room, seeping through the windows and drifting away with the wind. Damn! What are the people in Villa 36 cooking? So fragrant. It's driving us crazy. This is the smell of meat. It must be the smell of meat. Inhuman. Can't they see so many people are starving? They don't even take the initiative to share with us. How despicable. Go check who's eating meat? Tonight we'll sneak over and borrow some. Bring some variety to our brothers. It's been checked out. It's Villa 36. The one with many bodies floating at the door this morning. Oh, that's fine then. Chapter 38. The Giant Rat. The mushrooms were ready to eat. Maria and Lily each had a bowl, taking a sip of the soup, which was both delicious and delightful. The mushrooms were tender and flavorful, a true delight to the palate. Just one bite and they couldn't stop their chopsticks. In the blink of an eye, the bowl of mushrooms was completely devoured. An hour later, Maria and Lily each had a cup of yogurt to conclude their dinner. Maria remembered she had several varieties of pine mushroom species stored in her magical space. She planned to rotate them once these were almost finished, trying out new varieties. But those colorful, beautiful mushrooms, it would be a shame if they couldn't be eaten. They looked so appetizing. What should they do next? Practice umbrella swordsmanship? Study magic? As Maria pondered this, she noticed Lily looking unsure of what to do. Lily was only 12 years old, the age for school. But this was the apocalypse. Maria frowned. Even in the apocalypse, education couldn't be abandoned. At that moment, Lily seemed to be facing a formidable enemy, her body trembling slightly. Lily, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Maria suddenly thought of something. Are you allergic to mushrooms? Lily quickly shook her head. No, I just feel warm all of a sudden. Maria nodded. Maybe it's because you just recovered from the flu and spent the whole day cleaning the villa, exhausting your strength. Take an anti-flu pill and go rest, just to be safe. Lily nodded guiltily. All right, Maria. After Lily took the pill and went to her room, Maria started thinking about Lily's educational issues. There were a few computers in the magical space with many books on them, but none seemed to be suitable textbooks for elementary, middle, or high school students. Most were targeted. That's it. Maria came up with an idea. She decided to give Lily the Barefoot Doctor Manual, Militia Training Manual, and Friend of Military and Civilians to learn from. This was the most suitable knowledge to study in the apocalyptic world. As for the normal school knowledge, Maria planned to teach Lily once she found a Chinois bookstore or a library and moved all the books into her magical space. Or, if the internet was available someday, she would download relevant courses for Lily to learn from. Yes, there was a printer in her magical space, so various tests could also be printed out. Regarding physical education, Maria found a notebook. While preparing for the apocalypse, she had downloaded various martial arts secrets and military boxing techniques from the internet. Lily could choose which one she liked and suited her, and then learn it. This way, Lily could have some self-defense abilities in this apocalyptic world. It was decided joyfully. The next day, Lily learned about Maria's specific arrangements for her. In addition to daily cycling to generate electricity for exercise, a martial arts class was added, practicing in front of the computer by herself, as Maria wouldn't teach her because she didn't know how. 3 cultural courses were added: Barefoot Doctor Manual, Militia Training Manual, and Friend of Military and Civilians. When she found out they weren't school textbooks, Lily was initially happy. However, after flipping through the new books a few times, Lily's mood became extremely complex. Maria could provide limited guidance in this area because she didn't know either. Maria, you don't know these, so how can I learn? Lily looked bitter, not liking the idea of studying. Maria blinked. These 3 books, as long as you can read, you can learn. It's the apocalypse. You need to learn to survive. The apocalypse. Under Maria's protection, Lily had almost forgotten about the apocalypse. She nodded resolutely. Maria, I'll learn. But there are many words I don't recognize. Maria flipped her hand and pulled out a thick Chinois dictionary. Lily had no more questions. After arranging for Lily, Maria started her daily practice with the umbrella, sword, and magic. Around noon, Min from the security team arrived with several security guards, loudly announcing that the people who had attacked Maria's villa the previous night had been dealt with. Maria didn't open the door, merely responding with a knowing acknowledgement. Min hadn't expected a reply but was pleasantly surprised to receive one, happily leading the security guards back. The security team really takes action. I remember there were 11 left from that construction crew. How did they die? I don't know. I saw them going to the parking lot this morning, coming out unscathed shortly after, and then they were all dead. Maybe the security team just persuaded them to leave and pretended to kill them. No, look, they used the word dealt with, not killed. Man, they're just playing word games. Funny how the security team is so eager to please. Yet the people in the villa haven't even opened the door once. Clingy guys never prosper. In that case, I kinda hope the construction crew comes back suddenly, to see what the security team will say then. Alright. It's none of our business anyway. We're just here for the show. I want to eat meat. People from nearby villas started discussing the matter. However, everyone was starving, so finding food was the most important thing. The discussion was brief and not significant. In the heavy rain, the tourist area seemed to have returned to its former tranquility. But this tranquility was shattered 3 days later. Rats. There are rats. On the left side of the landslide area, in the eastern part of the villa district, a woman let out a terrified shriek. Hearing the scream, people from the vicinity, whether neighbors or not, immediately picked up whatever they could to catch the rats. Everyone was starving. Such rats were a rare high-protein source, a luxury in this situation. Everyone was excited, very helpful, eager to help, as long as they could catch these rats. But when they arrived, they saw a horrifying scene. A woman was lying on the ground. On top of her was a giant rat weighing over 200 pounds, crunching on her head, gory and grotesque. Some people vomited on the spot. Some people's legs went weak. Some even fainted. Giant rats weren't new to them, but such a big one was truly unprecedented. Could it be a mutant giant rat from the radiation in Japan? Kill it! A man, furious, broke through the crowd, swinging a stick at the giant rat. He had come to watch the commotion, only to realize that the woman on the ground was his Maria. One person charged out and more followed. Regardless of the rat's size or whether it was eating someone, such a big rat, once killed, would surely provide meat for many people. This wasn't just a rat. It was a walking piece of meat. Those who should have been afraid were now red-eyed. Chapter 39. Pharmacology of Magic. Rats were fierce and ferocious, with thick skins that barely broke under the blows of ordinary cleavers. If the angle was wrong, the blade could even slip right off. Their movements were incredibly agile, dodging and charging through the attacks of the crowd, knocking down many people in succession. Anyone brave enough to challenge them alone would find their face torn to shreds in an instant. After a few minutes, an unknown old warrior emerged, piercing the giant rat's rear with a sharpened bamboo pole, skewering it completely. The rat convulsed instinctively a few times before it was beyond dead. A famished mob swarmed over, stripping the over 100-pound rat of its skin, tendons, flesh, and bones, dividing the spoils cleanly. To seize more meat, even more severe conflicts erupted, resulting in 3 deaths on the spot. It was only the chaotic shout of, "There are more giant rats over there," that possibly prevented the conflict from escalating further. To everyone's surprise, when they rushed over, They indeed found 2 more 100-pound giant rats. Hearing the distress calls of their kind and wanting to come to the rescue, they had no idea that humans here were far more brutal than they understood, so they dared not show themselves. Now, seeing a large group of humans chasing them, the 2 rats did not hesitate at all, fleeing desperately towards the landslide area, jumping in without a moment's pause and disappearing instantly. A group of people stood at the edge of the landslide area, sighing at the missed opportunity of 200 pounds of fresh meat. Afterwards, the crowd dispersed. Some saw the appearance of the giant rats today and began to plan their capture, thinking that catching just one would be enough to eat for many days. Others looked at the rat meat in their hands and pondered whether it was safe to eat. With this doubt, he brought the rat meat to the student and teacher group in the tourist area. After a biology teacher examined it under a microscope, he concluded the rat meat was problem-free and safe to eat. It was recommended to steam it at high temperatures to disinfect before grilling and seasoning. However, the rat's teeth, internal organs, fur, and toes contained a large number of pathogenic microorganisms and parasites, and were not recommended for consumption even if they could be cooked at high temperatures, unless one was fearless of death. The inquirer was delighted, left some rice, and thanked the teacher before departing. Soon, the news spread, and the entire tourist area was swept up in a frenzy of giant rat hunting. After being trapped by the torrential rains for so many days, they finally had meat to eat. Miss Maria, our security team managed to catch a giant rat today, weighing over 160 pounds. Would you like to take some meat home? That day, Min from the security team, accompanied by several guards, carried the giant rat past Maria's villa and politely knocked on the door to ask. Judging from the mud on their clothes, the rat must have been caught in the mountains. No, thank you, Maria responded. Min didn't say anything else and left with the others. Thanks to the appearance of the giant rats, the food in the tourist area had greatly improved, and the imminent conflict was temporarily quelled. Maria continued to immerse herself in the practice of umbrella swords and the study of magic. To avoid danger, Maria mainly studied the small water sphere spell when researching magic. Feeling a bit hungry during her studies, she decided to heat up a portion of dry-fried chicken over rice. At that moment, Maria unexpectedly noticed a book near the packaging of the dry-fried chicken over rice. Maria suddenly remembered that this book was given to her by the blue-haired girl from the restaurant along with the rice. Due to the apocalypse, she hadn't paid attention to the book. She opened the book and a note fell from the title page. To the friend who has received this book, hello, stranger. As the former owner of this book, I must remind you that once you step into the realm of potions, it's like entering a deep ocean. As you can see, this is a book on pharmacology of magic, but it specifically states that only witches can learn from it. As a genius witch, I thought I counted as a witch, but when studying pharmacology, I encountered an unexpected accident. I won't go into the specifics of the accident, but I confirmed one thing. A witch is not a witch mage is not a witch, a magical girl is not a witch is not a witch, only a witch is a witch. This might be a bit convoluted and hard to understand, and an explanation might not make it clearer. In short, I give you a piece of advice. If you are not a witch, please do not waste your time and immediately pass this book on to someone else, waiting until it reaches the hands of a witch. Good luck to you. The genius witch Momo. Maria looked at the note, blinked, and put it into her magical space. Although she wasn't sure what was going on, at least she had a clue. This was a book of pharmacology of magic specifically for witches. Turning to the first page, there was a preface with only 3 sentences below it. Attention! This book is only suitable for witches to study. Any accidents that occur to other professions learning from this book are not our responsibility. The book contains 3 courses: Principles of Magic and Magic Circles, Research and Expansion of Potions, Analysis and Creation of Potions. Please do not litter potions. I hate witches who litter potions the most. What was this preface about? Maria was puzzled. Could it be that this book wasn't really about pharmacology of magic, but instead a prank? Otherwise, why would the preface be so unprofessional? With doubts, Maria continued to read. She turned to the first chapter, Principles of Magic and Magic Circles. In an instant, Maria felt like she was back in school, opening the first page of a new book with nervous excitement. Magic is the powerful force released by the natural use of magical power, following the laws of the universe. Magical power is the basic energy of the universe, divided by attributes into metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, darkness, wind, thunder, ice, mirror, spirit, soul, energy, space, time, dimension, and many other types of magic. A witch's control of magical power is subjective, coming from pride, confidence, or even delusion, and can also be increased through daily magical practice. But the total amount of magic that can be controlled is influenced by the witch's own aptitude. Witches with low aptitude need not worry. You can completely improve it by drinking potions. Having understood magic and magical power, we begin to learn about the principles of magic circles. A magic circle is the magical circuit required for spellcasting. Magic circles are one of the basic conditions for potion making. Maria looked at the first chapter of Pharmacology of Magic and the illustrated examples of magic circles, and she seemed to understand something. In a wonderful and special state, Maria opened her palm, and a fist-sized red fireball instantly appeared on it. In the blink of an eye, the fist-sized fireball disappeared and was replaced by a watermelon-sized one. These were real fireball spells and great fireball spells. The small fireball and water ball spells she had learned before were like 1 + 1, the foundation of these magics. The path she had taken was correct. She could completely develop more spells by combining the principles of magic she had just learned with small fireball and water ball spells. Maria was very happy. She had gained some more life-saving skills for the end times. Chapter 40. Explosion. Understanding the principles of magic circles would be much more challenging. Maria needed to first learn 51 basic magic circle symbols. Looking at these symbols, Maria felt a headache coming on, as during her studies she had to not only comprehend the meaning of these magic symbols but also grasp the associated parameters. This would keep her occupied for quite some time. And so, as days passed, by the 10th day, Maria had learned all 51 magic circle symbols. Next, she could begin drawing the magic circles needed for crafting potions. After a few more days of study, Maria felt she had gained enlightenment, because she could now manifest the magic of magic space using a magic circle. Under normal circumstances, magic space was just a simple dimensional backpack for Maria, allowing her to store a large amount of food and retrieve items at any time. But now, she could use a magic circle to expand magic space, which was like creating a dimensional barrier in front of her, capable of containing any incoming attacks. Most importantly, others could not see the magic circle when it was expanded. Maria had gained another life-saving skill. Lily, throw something at me. Ha! Lily, who was studying, was very puzzled by Maria's request. Maria, what are you doing? Maria said, testing a magic. Just throw anything at me. Lily hesitated for a moment, folded a paper airplane, and threw it at Maria. The next second, the paper airplane flew a distance and then disappeared in the air. Maria, the paper airplane is gone. Lily widened her eyes in amazement. What kind of magic is this? Maria smiled. It's a space magic, probably capable of containing any incoming attacks. That's amazing. Lily suddenly became excited. Maria, can you send the stored attacks back? And, if there are missiles inside, can you use this magic to activate them and shoot them out? Just like in the anime. I remember there was a blonde who only knew one magic space, which contained a large library. She didn't know any offensive magic. Later, she was forced to participate in a battle and used the method of directly calling missiles from magic space to attack the target. Right? She could also use this space magic to transfer anything within a certain range. Maria blinked, having to admire Lily's big imagination. For now, she could use the magic space magic circle for defense, which was already very good. Sending back the incoming attacks? She should be able to do that after some more research. As for directly activating a missile using space magic, first she would need to have a missile. She had no clue about the relevant magic at all. And using space magic to transfer a missile for combat within a certain range. That was beyond her wildest dreams. She was just a novice and knowing a few spells was already quite good. However, 3 days later, Maria succeeded in using magic space to return absorbed attacks. This was fundamentally a use of the magic space's absorption and release principles. With a slight adjustment when controlling the magic circle, it could be achieved. Maria checked the date. Today was October 13th, 2123. She was ready to start learning the magic circle drawing in the Book of Potions. Only by mastering this skill could she continue her studies on potion research and expansion, potion analysis and creation. Once she had mastered all of these, she would be considered a true beginner in potion making. After breakfast, Maria carefully drew magic circles on paper. Lily was seriously studying the Barefoot Doctor's Manual, as she seemed interested in the medical profession. Around 9:30 in the morning, there was a loud explosion outside, causing the ground to shake. Something had happened. Maria immediately put down her pen and went to the window to look outside. Lily stopped studying and went to the window as well, looking outside with uncertainty. "It's okay," Maria reassured Lily. Her gaze was fixed on the distance. The explosion sounded like it came from the entrance to the tourist area, the parking lot. At the parking lot, Min's face was pale. For long-term benefits, he had set up a checkpoint at the entrance of the tourist area. Those who came later and sought refuge would be allowed to pass with a small amount of food as a token payment. Even for those who were truly destitute and had no food, he would still let them in without them needing to beg, for the safety of his brothers and himself. There was no need to risk their lives over a few pounds of food. But the group that came today was different. Without a word, they used explosives to blow up the checkpoint, killing the 2 security brothers who were on duty. They had over 300 people, pushing many wheelbarrows loaded with various items. From a glance, there were at least a dozen guns among them. These were ruthless people who had killed before. It was unclear where they had come from. 2 security guards went out with steel pipes and knives to see what was happening, only to be shot dead in the rain, which scared the wits out of Min, who was about to go out to reason with them. If he had gone out first, he would have died. At this moment, Min was certain that these people outside were vicious killers. Lower the mechanism at the gate to temporarily stall them. Poison the dry giant rat meat reserves. Take off the security uniforms and run. Min decisively took off his security uniform, put on his backpack, and fled from the back of the parking lot. The other security brothers did not hesitate, grabbed their own backpacks, and quickly followed Min. Min had been training the security team's escape abilities in ordinary times, and no matter when, they would always keep some food in their backpacks, ready to escape at any time, which turned out to be useful today. As they fled the parking lot and dove into the flood-filled bushes, the people outside could no longer see them. Not long after they started to run, they heard another loud explosion. The blockade mechanism at the parking lot had been blown up. This made Min's heart race. "Captain, where did these beasts come from?" a security guard asked with tears in his eyes. One of the 4 security guards killed earlier was his brother. "I don't know where these beasts came from," Min said as he ran. "This time it's not just a fight with strong ones. They have guns, we need to survive first, then we can think about revenge. I hope they eat the poisoned rat jerky." Another security guard said bitterly, "That's the 5-step snake venom and the silver-ringed snake venom I got with great difficulty." Min urged, "Stop talking. Just leave here first." A security guard next to him asked, "Captain, if we leave here, where can we go?" Min was stunned. He hadn't thought about it. Now that they had left the parking lot, where could they go? He saw the area of landslides and mudflows ahead and said, "Let's go to Villa 36 first and tell Miss Maria about the situation at the parking lot. Miss Maria also has explosives." A security guard asked, "What if Miss Maria doesn't help us?" Min said, "Don't worry about it, at least we brought the intelligence of these people, and so many beasts coming here, they will definitely target the better living conditions in the villa area. Miss Maria can't stay out of it."